Imagine this. You're just coming home from a long day at school. Your mom wanted to speak with you about something important. It was about the relationship between her and your dad. They've been growing apart for some time, and now they made a decision that will completely change how you grow up. How do you feel? Raising a child will always have its difficulties from a variety of avenues. There are financial and social struggles that many parents consider when doing what they can to raise one to the best of their ability. However, it becomes a whole lot more complicated when parents are no longer together. When parents agree to part ways, they have to go into court to settle who will have full custody, arrangements of when they get to see or stay with a certain parent, how much finance one parent must give to the other to assist in getting the needs of the child, not to mention the mental effect that can occur on the kid themselves, and how differently people treat them when they are in a single parent household. It's a topic that we barely scratch the surface on in animation, let alone have an entire series based on this premise. So it definitely had me very intrigued how Hulu was introducing a new series that takes a deep dive into this scenario, with a bit of a devilish twist to it.
Oh, a girl.
Little Demon discusses a variety of issues that a split family has to deal with. The custody discussion, the perspective of those involved, the overprotection of the child against the other parent, and being truthful to the child. These points have made a major impact into each perspective on the family's lives. These moments can really make or break any possible relationship between the parents and the children being raised. This is something I've come to know from being raised by a single parent myself, so there is a lot of relatability to the show that I really want to talk about.
Game over.
So obviously the main decisions that need to be made when the parents decide to split ways is who will the child be staying with. This obviously is going to take more than a discussion between the two sides, as the court has to get involved in that decision. There's a variety of levels that this process could be in. It could be as low as the two being very communicative and seeing where each other are after the divorce and agreeing who would have the most comfortable living environment, or it can be a mess and a half with both parents trying to sabotage each other and seeing a child as more of a property than anything else. The latter was very adamant from the very first episode. So here's the breakdown. Chrissy Feinberg was born a bastard child. A child that is born to parents that are not married, which is very fitting considering that this is a story about raising the Antichrist. It was perceived that her father was dead, and for the 13 years she's been alive, they moved constantly, mainly with the perception of work-related reasons, which could easily perceive the struggles of raising a child while having a job with a ton of traveling, like the military. Then when the ball dropped of her father still being alive, and also Satan, we start seeing the possessiveness between the two parents. Both do it in different ways.
I'm going to protect you, and I don't regret it for a second.
The only thing I need protection from is you.
Oh, you wouldn't last a day in the real world without me.
You're a bitch.
And you're an ungrateful asshole. Touche.
So it comes to no surprise that in most cases, children usually live with their mother in these situations, mainly because of the general stigma in society that women are more the caretakers and are more equipped in nurturing a child. However, the numbers don't usually tell you everything, especially when we talk about the toxic relationship between the mom and the dad in the first place. something that can clearly affect the child's thought process, which is the case to be with Chrissy and Laura. Laura, from the early going of the episode, clearly shows that she's extremely overprotective of her daughter. In the very beginning of their conversation, every move Laura makes when it comes to Chrissy screams that to be the case. Telling her the tools she needs for her zits, locking the door and instigating Chrissy, and getting all in her personal space without asking first. Now, I think this is something we can all agree on, that a child's safety is of the utmost importance. However, there is a certain limit of excuses that you can use to limit the freedom of your child and can easily turn that relationship into a cesspool. It makes a child very resentful and resilient against the parent if they don't have some sort of freedom in their life. It's certainly a thing that Chrissy felt, especially when the big reveal about her father dropped. That's when we really see Laura go mask off when it comes to her control of Chrissy's life. Everything was very high-paced about the situation, and Laura was more pressed on getting away from this location as fast as possible, not even considering Chrissy's input now that she knows the whole truth. And you start to see the rift between the two get bigger at a rapid pace. Laura really pushing that mothers know best complex made Chrissy become more hostile towards her. It makes Chrissy want to see Satan because of the extremely tight grip Laura has on her. It's not much of a surprise when you as a parent try to force your child into doing things you want. The resentfulness starts to grow intensely. Chrissy brings up the valid points of Laura gaslighting her and pleading with her mother to stay in Middletown because she finally garnered some sort of friendship with someone at the school. With very little social interaction throughout her life, I cannot blame her for wanting to have that opportunity. A child needs that to express themselves amongst her peers, and not having that can affect their mental health negatively. It's something a parent has to understand, especially if you're raising one on your own. When you don't take that into consideration, the child would prefer to see their other parent. So it shows that even though it's more common for the mother to take in the child, she may not be the best option. However, that doesn't mean the dad is flawless by any means.
I'm dear father, Damien. Huh, you're a girl. The future is female. I support and believe you.
So let's talk about what I like to call the cool parent syndrome. That's exactly the card Satan decided to play. The cool parent is essentially used to be on the good side of the child, trying to be the parent that will be open to do anything they ask of them, having a chance to be more relaxed and show off what wealth the parent has. While on paper it can be seen as the best case scenario to make sure a child is very happy in life, this can also garner a lot of problems to be added if overdone. That is something we saw when it comes to Satan's relationship with Chrissy. Starting off with the introduction to Satan, who I will never get over the fact that he's played by Danny DeVito. It was clear he was doing everything he can to impress his kid with a grand entrance best fitting for what he assumed to be a boy. Very fit to be an extreme-like setting with an entrance of a WWE wrestler if they decided to merge Macho Man and Stone Cold's gimmicks. Even with this new knowledge about his child, he was quick to change things up to pander to the idea of a perfect father for a girl. Everything he says or does feels like he's trying to sell some sort of pitch. Chrissy recognizes that as she talks to him when he brags about the possibilities of living with him. It's a very common practice for those who don't have custody originally that have malicious intent to go this route. I have my own experiences in that department myself, with my dad coming every once in a blue moon and trying to wish me the world to gain some sort of edge over my mom. Something I think a lot of parents fail to realize is that while they haven't had the full experience of life, there are times kids can notice that there's some sort of catch to the situation. Especially in Chrissy's case, where Satan tried to slip in some sort of deal to help him have full control of Earth. It's not very easy to garner that immediate trust for a parent that has been MIA, and it can become clear to a kid if that parent shows up out of the blue that there's something they want that you have, or simply trying to one-up their former partner. So with two differing parents that have their own respective levels of suck, you can only imagine how quickly their honesty about Chrissy gets shed into the light.
You're just so special.
Hello? Does anyone even hear me?
You think I felt special? Your magic jizz ruined my life. You're lucky I didn't kill it.
You're lucky it didn't kill itself.
Yeah, their hate boners really started showing their emotional thoughts about Chrissy. Like, to overhear your parents blatantly spewing how you negatively impacted their lives can easily put you in a state of isolation and depression. Chrissy wanted to run away from it all. It makes sense for a child to feel this way, mainly because kids want to let out their frustrations rather than keep it in. No matter how much she wanted to express how she didn't care about what people thought about her, he was the first person to actually listen to what she had to say. So it made sense that she was very willing to lay out every shitty thing that was thrown at her to him. He's a great listener and knows the right things to say at the moment. That's how easy it is for a child to feel better about their situation. Just being able to listen to what they have to say helps boost a lot of their self-esteem and lower their concerns about the future. She had to force that onto her parents because there's no other way they would listen. Obviously, the three of them will need to be able to communicate, and someone has to lead the charge in figuring out what the best option is for all three to be satisfied. In this case, what better person than Chrissy, since the main focus is her in the first place. She made it clear what she wants out of the two of them, and it was a quick and concise way for everyone to get a little bit of something out of this whole mess. It gives this notion that at the end of the day, the person that needs to be the most comfortable in this setting is the child. It is up to the parents to give them an opportunity for some sort of comfortable life, whether both parents are involved or not. So now we get into a topic that I feel is extremely common within these types of situations. A parent can become quite envious of their child spending time with their counterpart, no matter how much time they actually have together. Seeing the child learn things from the other parent that you yourself can't teach nor agree with can make you feel more spiteful and annoyed to the point where you express your disapproval of it. However, as a parent, you have to be very careful with expressing your concerns to your child, as it could be for the worst. Laura understood that the hard way in the second episode. So in this episode, we witness Satan teaching Chrissy the ways of soul possession. I would assume that this is one of the first weekends where Chrissy spends time with him. She enjoyed learning about this new skill and definitely used it as much as possible. Laura obviously is very bothered by this because she sees this ability as a sleazy way for the devil to steal Chrissy's heart so that he can acquire Maximus Daunus. Which she is right in this regard. Even then, she uses a lot of wordage that makes it be viewed that she is just like her father. A lot of parents who are divorced do this, always comparing their child's negative attributes to the opposing parent. That may not sit well with the child, and they become more self-conscious of their actions. When Laura expresses that Chrissy should use her power for good, Chrissy inherits that idea in her own way by using her possession to do good deeds around town. However, she comes to learn that these situations the Middletown citizens find themselves in aren't black and white as they make it out to be, and almost all of them are selfish and reactionary. While Chrissy's naive thinking is at fault, some of the blame also goes into Laura as well. Her push of this notion that evil is a part of Chrissy's DNA made her very self-conscious about her actions and put the blame on herself for making things worse. As a parent, you have to realize that your kid takes what you say in high regard. So you yourself have to be very careful in expressing your concerns or beliefs, especially when you compare them to the other parent who may or may not have a great public image. I know that from personal experience. Now, I want to emphasize that parents don't tell you everything, for good reasons. And not so good reasons. Mainly because there is this belief that for some conversations you need to be of age to understand. The birds and the bees convo being one of the prime examples, or the details of your own mistakes. Even with that, a child may end up being held back from trusting you if you don't open up to conversations that deal with your shady past if they discover it, and you try to deny it. I think Satan learned quickly when he tries to dupe Chrissy in episode 3. It shouldn't come to anyone's surprise that Satan is an extremely selfish individual that will take every opportunity to take advantage of someone. That includes his own daughter. When we first see the two spend time together, he literally took her to a puppet show that screams desperation, having a play about her signing the deal to start Maximus Donis. As stated earlier, kids are able to pick up on things like this. That's especially the case when the parent is just now deciding to seem interested in spending time with you. So with that, Satan then intrigues her with doing something very fun in order to win that trust. What better way to do that than to go to a popular game show to show her skills in murdering stuff? While this is a more hidden ploy to impress Chrissy, there are some cracks to his charades within this father-daughter time. While these battles are ongoing, he shows many signs of weakness by making Chrissy do a majority of the work. While Chrissy seems to enjoy picking into her power, it does raise a lot of red flags on Satan's part with him putting his child in immediate danger. It also becomes clear that his own strength isn't as strong as it was once perceived, which ends up being the case as... I forgot her name. Oops. Whoopsie! Which ends up being the case as the hostess reveals the truth about Satan's reasoning for joining this show. That results in a near-death experience and an emotional Chrissy that makes her lose control with her power. Even though he almost died, Satan went on to continue with this facade, which in turn made Chrissy very blunt about their relationship. It goes to prove that trying to lie about your situation or about what these meetups are about can hamper the relationship between you and your kid. They can become very upset if you continue to use them for personal gain rather than showing that you enjoy your time with them. Honesty is a very powerful tool to use in a majority of situations. It can help a child understand where you're coming from, especially as they mature and understand the world around them. Not doing that will cause that rift and resentment to grow against the parent. Being truthful about yourself can go a long way. Kids know that perfection is non-existent within people, so being open about your flaws can go a long way. I think the show does an amazing job in showing the issues that can occur while raising a child as a divorced parent. Trying to raise a child in a comfortable way within this sort of situation is a large task to deal with. As someone who has grown up in a single-parent household, I know the struggle of finding the positives within it. Even then, for a parent, it's important to understand that while your relationship with each other is almost non-existent, they do need to be communicative and understanding of what is best for the children involved in the situation. I do believe that once the child is involved, you have to do whatever you can to make sure the child experiences life the best way possible. whether it's splitting the time spent evenly or if it's better to run it solo. Having the opportunity where the child is aware and understanding of what is going on and have some sort of relationship with each parent is more important than how the parents feel about each other.